I got a feeling called the blues, oh Lord, since my baby said goodbye. Lord, I don't know what I do. All I do is sit and sigh. Oh Lord, that last long day she said goodbye. Well, Lord, I thought I would die. So do me, so do you. She's got the kind of loving. Lord, I love to hear her when she calls me sweet daddy. Oh Lord, such a beautiful dream. I hate to think it all over. I've lost my heart, it seems. I've grown so used to her somehow, but I'm nobody's sugar daddy now, and I'm lonesome. I got the lovesick blues. Oh, I'm in love with a beautiful gal. That's what's the matter with me. I'm in love with a beautiful gal, but she don't care about me. Lord, I tried to keep her satisfied, but she just wouldn't stay. And now that she is leaving, this is all I can say. I got a feeling called the blues, oh Lord, since my baby said goodbye. Lord, I don't know what I do. All I do is sit and sigh. Oh Lord, that last long day she said goodbye. Well, Lord, I thought I would die. So do me, so do you. She's got that kind of loving. Lord, I love to hear her when she calls me sweet daddy. Oh Lord, such a beautiful dream. I hate to think it all over. I've lost my heart, it seems. I've grown so used to her somehow, but I've nobody's sugar daddy now, and I'm lonesome. I got the lovesick blues. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tennessee Walt's A Distant Country. I'm Tennessee Walt, and all you really need to know about me is that my name is not Walt, and I'm not from Tennessee. As for today's show, it is unlike any of the 60-odd shows I've done previously in that it is, well, distant. I'm coming to you live from an undisclosed location somewhere in my living room in my apartment in Steinway, Queens. It is probably not necessary for me to explain to you why it's necessary to be doing things this way, so let's move on and talk a little bit about libraries. This show, as you probably know, is a tribute to, a benefit for, a salute to the libraries of Nassau County, Westchester County, and Suffolk County, and more broadly the libraries of America. It's entirely appropriate because if you've seen me previously, its chances are that it was at a library. I do clubs, churches, temples, senior groups, that sort of thing, but by and large, if you've seen me, it was probably at a library. And this is entirely reasonable because I've been a country singer since 2016. That's about 4 years ago. I've been a library person for roughly 54 years. And in all that time, I've learned to love libraries and people who work at libraries. I did not marry my wife because she works at a library. She didn't at that time, but I think better of her because she does. So today we'll be talking a little bit further down the line about libraries and about how we can help them in this crisis, because they really do need our help at this time. For the moment, though, let's simply do a little housekeeping and say that this show comes to us through an idea suggested to me just about a week ago by Maria Lisa Arnold of the Baldwin Public Library. It since then has kind of caught fire. We have 20 other libraries that are co-sponsoring and another 20 plus that have helped us promoting the show, for which I'm extremely grateful. I would like to dedicate this show, to libraries everywhere, but particularly to the 6 or 7 libraries where I was scheduled to be doing shows in the month of April. I'm not able to do so. I hope to be there soon, however. That would be the Elmont Public Library, the East Hampton Public Library, the Hart Memorial Library in Shrub Oak, the Locust Valley Public Library, the Oyster Bay Public Library, the Westbury Public Library, and, of course, the Baldwin Public Library. But On to the actual songs, because I did not come here today or stay here today. I stayed here to sing, not to talk. It's usual in times of national crisis to begin a show with the national anthem. Country has its own unofficial national anthem, however, and that's maybe a little more appropriate to the current situation than rockets' red glare and bombs bursting in air. It was adapted by A.P. Carter from a 1907 hymn by Ada R. Habershon and Charles H. Gabriel, and was first recorded by the Carter family in 1935. I was standing by the window on one cold and cloudy day, and I saw the hearse come rolling for to carry my mother away. Can the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. Lord, I told the undertaker, undertaker, please drive slow, for this body you are hauling, Lord, I hate to see her go. Can the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. I followed close behind her, tried to hold up and be brave, but I could not hide my sorrow when they laid her in that grave. Can the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. Went back home, Lord, my home was lonesome. Missed my mother, she was gone. All my brothers, sisters crying, never was a home so lone. Can the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. In the sky, Lord, in the sky. That was officially the second country song I ever sang in my debut show from 2016, The Other Great American Songbook. If you'd like to learn more about that song, it was also my debut blog entry on TennesseeWalt.com. It's all about that song and why it is so widely misunderstood by people who don't understand its history. Also in that show was this next song, which is credited to Hank Williams. In reality, Williams only wrote the words, and not all of the words, really. The music, as well as the general idea of the song and some of the individual lines, are by Albert G. Brumley, who in 1939 released a song called He Set Me Free. Today it is best known in a 1941 recording by one of my favorite old-time country acts, the Chuckwagon Gang. Williams was certainly familiar with this song when he wrote his own version in 1947. I wandered so aimless, life filled with sin, I wouldn't let my dear Savior in. Then Jesus came like a stranger in the night. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow in sight. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. Just like a blind man I wandered alone. Worries and fears I claimed for my own. And like the blind man that God gave back his sight. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow in sight. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. I was a fool to wander and stray, for narrow the gate and straight is the way. Now I have traded the wrong for the right. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow in sight. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. Fun fact, Hank Williams wrote that song and made the first recording of it, but his recording was not the first one issued. His publisher was Acuff Rose, whose senior partner was the great country singer Roy Acuff, known as the king of country music. When Acuff heard Williams's recording, he said, "Wow, that sounds like a hit," and rushed into the studio and recorded his own version, which was then rushed to market and actually got there before Williams's. The music business is like that. As it happens, he was fast, but not quite fast enough. The actual first release of I Saw the Light was by an obscure RCA artist named Clyde Grubb. You can't make this stuff up. Who got his one out by October of 1947. He is little known today, except perhaps as the guy who originally released I Saw the Light. Well, it is seriously weird to be doing a show here in my apartment. Usually I travel a lot for my shows. I've done shows in Florida, Tennessee, Texas, Michigan, and I've traveled all over the tri-state area for shows, by train, by bus, usually by car. Most of us are not doing a lot of traveling these days, though, so it puts me in a mood for some traveling songs. This is one that's about a train. It is by my favorite tri-state area band, a terrific group called Citizens Band Radio, and it was written by Jason Januzzi. Waiting on a train that never seems to come. Waiting on a train. Waiting on a train that never seems to come. Waiting on a train. Waiting on a train that never seems to come. Waiting on a train to Birmingham. Sitting at that station just twiddling my thumbs. Waiting on a train that never comes. And I'm thinking about my life, staring at that clear blue sky. I thought I heard a whistle, but 10 minutes have gone by. I wish that I had wings and I could fly. Waiting on a train that never seems to come. Waiting on a train to Birmingham. Sitting at that station just twiddling my thumbs. Waiting on a train that never comes. It's that Johnson City line. Right now, Lord, I feel like I could die. I wish I had a nickel for every minute that's gone by. Instead, I've just got trouble on my mind. Waiting on a train that never seems to come. Waiting on a train to Birmingham. Sitting at that station just twiddling my thumbs. Waiting on a train that never comes. waiting on a train that never seems to come, waiting on a train to Birmingham, sitting at that station just twiddling my thumbs, waiting on a train that never comes, waiting, 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 waiting. I'm sitting at that station just twiddling my thumbs, waiting on a train that never comes. Citizens Band Radio, check them out. They're a terrific group. They've got lots of great songs. That happens to be their best, even if they don't appreciate that fact. Well, the train I ride most often, of course, is the New York City subway. The only problem with that is that living where I do, which is right here, it is a 20-minute walk to the subway. The only alternative is to take a bus. So here is a song about a bus. It's by the great Gretchen Peters, who is an inspiration to me because she is a terrific country singer and songwriter who actually grew up, or at least was born, in the tri-state New York area, to be specific, in Bronxville. On a bus to St. Cloud, Minnesota, I thought I saw you there, with the snow falling down around you like a silent prayer. And once on a street in New York City, with the jazz and the sin in the air. And once on a cold LA freeway, going nowhere. And it's strange, but it's true, I was sure it was you, like a face in the cloud, on a bus to St. Cloud. In a church in downtown New Orleans, I got down on my knees and prayed, and I wept in the arms of Jesus for the choice you made. We were just getting to the good part, getting past the mystery. And it's just like you, oh, it's just like you to disagree. And it's strange, but it's true, you just slipped out of view, like a face in the crowd on a bus to St. Cloud. And you chase me like a shadow, and you haunt me like a ghost. And I hate you so, and I love you so, but I miss you most. On a bus to St. Cloud, Minnesota, I thought I saw you there, with the snow falling down around you like a silent prayer. Isn't that a beautiful song? It's best known in a performance by Trisha Yarwood, but I actually prefer Peters' version myself. Well, that's one of many songs in my new show, the 2020 program, Three Chords and the Truth, Country's Greatest Songwriters. I had been scheduled to debut that show 2 weeks from tonight at the East Hampton Public Library on April 18th. I will perform that show in East Hampton before I'm done, but it will not be on April 18th. When I did my show in Texas, I flew down there. Otherwise, though, even when I did Florida and Tennessee and Michigan, I drive. I love driving, and I've written some of my best songs while I was behind the wheel. And I am not the only country star who likes the experience of driving. On the road again, can't wait to get on the road again. The life I love is making music with my friends, so I can't wait to get on the road again. On the road again, going places I have never been, seeing things that I may never see again. Yeah, I can't wait to get on the road again. On the road again, like a band of gypsies we go down the highway. We're the best of friends, insisting that the world keep turning our way. And our way is on the road again. Can't wait to get on the road again. The life I love is making music with my friends, so I can't wait to get on the road again. On the road again, going places I have never been, seeing things that I may never see again. Yeah, I can't wait to get on the road again. On the road again, like a band of gypsies we go down the highway. We're the best of friends, insisting that the world keep turning our way. And our way is on the road again. Can't wait to get on the road again. The life I love is making music with my friends, so I can't wait to get on the road again. No, I can't wait to get on the road again. Written, of course, by the great Willie Nelson. These days, you've probably noticed this yourself, it's hard to listen to any song, no matter what it is, without it seeming in some way to be a commentary on the chaos that's going on all around us. In reality, of course, life goes on, and not everything that happens has anything to do with coronaviruses and so forth. For example, this is the first show that I've done since March 20th, when we all learned that Kenny Rogers had died at the age of 81. Now, I got to be candid, Rogers was never really one of my guys. I'm a hardcore country kind of guy, and he's rather too pop for my personal taste. But he did record a number of terrific country songs. This is one of them by the great Don Schlitz. On a warm summer's evening, on a train bound for nowhere, I met up with a gambler. We were both too tired to sleep, so we took turns of staring out the window at the darkness, till boredom overtook us and he began to speak. He said, "Son, I've made a life out of reading people's faces, knowing where the cards were by the way they held their eyes. So if you don't mind my saying, I can see you're out of aces. For a taste of your whiskey, I'll give you some advice." So I handed him my bottle, and he drank my last swallow. He bummed a cigarette and asked me for a light. Then the night got deathly quiet, and his face lost all expression. He said, "If you're gonna play, boy, you gotta learn to play it right. You gotta know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money while you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done." Son, every gambler knows that the secret of surviving is knowing what to throw away and knowing what to keep. 'Cause every hand's a winner and every hand's a loser, and the best that you can hope for is to die in your sleep. And when he'd finished speaking, he turned back to the window, stubbed out his cigarette and faded off to sleep. And somewhere in the darkness, that gambler, he broke even. But in his final words, I found an ace that I could keep. You gotta know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money while you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. Rest in peace, Kenny Rogers. Well, I promised you that somewhere along the line I was going to say a few words about libraries, and this is that point. As I said, this show came about through the suggestion of the Baldwin Public Library. I was delighted to have the opportunity to do even a little bit to help out our area libraries, not just because they're sponsors for many of my performances, but because they've been a mainstay in my life for literally longer than I can remember. I do not remember a time when I didn't go to libraries. My first library was the Tompkins Square branch of the New York City Public Library on East 10th Street. If you look at my Facebook page after this performance is over, there's a picture of it there. I spent the 1970s, 1980s, and 1990s, or at least big chunks of them, at the Garden City Public Library, two different buildings. And more recently, the library in which I spend most of my time is the New York Society Library, because it is where my lovely wife, Sarah Holliday, who is also the producer, the person behind the camera, the tech person, and all other things for this current production. She has to be, because I don't have access to my usual team of roadies, because they are all locked down at other places. Anyway, she works there, and I spend a lot of time there as well, and it's a terrific library. All libraries are terrific in my experience. Libraries feel like a luxury, but they're actually a necessity. The Tompkins Square Library that I first got to know was one of more than 2,500 that were built around the world by the robber baron steel magnate and later philanthropist Andrew Carnegie. Carnegie had grown up in Scotland in dire poverty, where the public library was his only real lifeline to education in the wider world. His family came to America when he was 12, and he amassed an enormous fortune and decided that he wanted to give some of it back to poor kids like himself who were trying to make their way in the world. Not by sending them all of them enough money to make them rich, because even he didn't have that much money, but by giving them the resources to make the most of their own lives. Now, libraries are the way that a poor kid can have the same resources that a rich kid has. In a library, the only limit on what you can learn is what you want to learn. The more you want to learn, the more resources are available to you. And I'm not only talking about books, I'm talking about newspapers and magazines and CDs and DVDs and art exhibits and government information and public meetings and theater and even country music concerts on occasion. A library in the neighborhood makes that a rich neighborhood, even if the people in the neighborhood are poor. Now, lately the libraries have been hit very hard. Libraries are built around the idea of their doors being open so anybody can walk in. If you don't have the money to buy a newspaper, you can walk into a library and read the newspaper for free. But these days the libraries are closed. They're going to reopen. All of the libraries in America may well end up closed for a while, but all of them will reopen. But the repercussions of this situation are going to last for years, especially the financial repercussions. Libraries are funded by a mix of public money and private donations, but I guarantee to you that no library in America budgeted at the beginning of this fiscal year for the kind of expenses they've incurred over the last few weeks, nor for the kind of expenses they will have to incur before they can reopen again. So, if ever there was a time to support your local library, this is that time. The libraries have always been there for us when we needed them, and it is time for us to be there for them. So, if you are already a friend of the library, good job, and consider adding a 0 to your donation this time. If you are not a supporter of your library at the present time, this is a perfect time to start. let's do it because it's the biggest contribution maybe that we can individually make to society as a whole. And in that spirit, I'd like to offer a visual aid for a performance which, given what I look like, is not at its best from a visual point of view. But this is a check signed by me. It's for $150. It's made out to the Baldwin Public Library. I'm going to be sending that out after this program is over, as soon as I can find where I should send it. I encourage everybody to do the same. We are all the better off when the libraries are better off. So, end of sermon, we return to our regularly scheduled programming. My 2017 show was a rather silly show called Hank's a Lot. It was entirely about 9 different country singers and songwriters named Hank. This next song was written by one of them, the great Hank Cochran, in partnership with the equally great Harlan Howard, both best known as songwriters. This particular song they had a hard time getting recorded, though. They had written it for Brenda Lee, but she turned it down. She said it was too country. So Decca Records then offered it to the country star Roy Drusky, who turned it down, saying that it was too girly. Finally, Decca and its lead producer, Owen Bradley, offered it to a young woman who had had a #2 hit 3 or 4 years before, but since then hadn't come close to a hit, whose career was running on fumes. Pieces each time I see you again. I fall to pieces. How can I just be your friend? You want me to act like we never kissed. You want me to forget, pretend we've never met. And I've tried, but I haven't yet. You walk by and I fall to pieces. I fall to pieces each time someone speaks your name. Pieces, time only adds to the flame. You want me to find someone else to love, someone who'll love me too, the way you used to do. But each time I go out with someone new, you walk by and I fall to pieces. You walk by and I fall to pieces. That young woman, of course, was Patsy Cline. That became her first #1 hit. She would have only 2 in her tragically shortened career. The other one was also written by Hank Cochran. Brenda Lee never did record that song, but I'll bet she wished she had. My 19, I'm a man of the 20th century, what can I tell you? My 2017 show was called Bristol and Beyond, the Birth of Country Music. It was all about the Bristol Sessions of 1927, which are also known as the Big Bang of country music. It dates from July and August of that year, when a record producer named Ralph Peer, who worked with the Victor Talking Machine Company, was touring the South looking for traditional music that might have commercial potential on recordings. He set up shop in Bristol and invited local musicians to come in and show him what they could do. He was there for 10 days, but on consecutive days, August 3rd and 4th of that year, he discovered the Carter family and Jimmy Rogers, the so-called father of country music. Commercial country music in America is generally dated from those 2 weeks in 1927. The biggest hit that came out of the Bristol Sessions was a Carter family song. Normally, the Carter family was A.P. Carter, his wife Sarah Carter, and his sister-in-law Maybelle Carter. But for this particular song, A.P. did not participate. It was only the women. This may be because its take on marriage was harder than AP could deal with. Certainly Sarah sung it with great brio. Single girl, go and dress so fine. Go and dress so fine. Married girl, wears most any kind. Wears most any kind. Single girl, going where she please, going where she please. Married girl, baby on her knees, baby on her knees. Single girl, goes to the store and buys, goes to the store and buys. Married girl, rocks the cradle and cries, rocks the cradle and cries. I came to country music late. I was in my mid-40s before it occurred to me there might be anything at all that this kind of music had to offer me. And I regret that because I missed some of the all-time greats. I did not see Johnny Cash perform. I did not see Ernest Tubb. I did not see Kitty Wells. But I have seen a number of the greats. I saw little Jimmy Dickens in his second-last performance on the Grand Ole Opry. I saw Merle Haggard, one of his final performances. I've seen both Loretta Lynn and Willie Nelson multiple times. The best country show I ever saw, though, was on April 10th, 2009 at the Ethical Culture Society in Manhattan on Central Park. What band, you ask? Well, no band. No band, no opening act, no backup singers, no dancers, no light show, just Chris Christopherson, his guitar, and a microphone. It was amazing. He sang song after song after song, every one of them a classic, every one of them perfectly sung. It knocked me out. Still, to this day, the best show I've ever seen. This is one of the songs that he sang at that performance. Busted flat in Baton Rouge and headed for the train, feeling near as faded as my jeans. Bobby thumbed a diesel down just before it rained that took us all the way to New Orleans. I took my harpoon out of my dirty red bandana and was blowing sad while Bobby sang the blues. With them windshield wipers slapping time and Bobby clapping hands, we finally sang up every song that driver knew. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. Nothing ain't worth nothing, but it's free. Feeling good was easy, Lord, when Bobby sang the blues. Feeling good was good enough for me and Bobby McGee. From the coal mines of Kentucky to the California sun, Bobby shared the secrets of my soul. Standing right beside me, Lord, in everything I'd done. Every night she kept me from the cold. But somewhere near Salinas, I let her slip away, looking for the home I hope she'll find. And I trade all my tomorrows for a single yesterday, holding Bobby's body next to mine. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. Nothing left was all she left for me. Feeling good was easy, Lord, when Bobby sang the blues. Brother, that was good enough for me and Bobby McGee. People will tell you that it was Janis Joplin's 1970 recording of that song that made Kristofferson's career. It is true that that song was a #1 pop hit and certainly made him a lot of money, among other things. However, by that time, the same song had been recorded in 1969 by Roger Miller. It had scored a #12 hit and had immediately been covered by Kenny Rogers, Gordon Lightfoot, and a number of other singers. That same year, Johnny Cash had recorded Kristofferson's Sunday Morning Coming Down, and Kristofferson had released his debut album, Kristofferson, and won the prestigious Songwriter of the Year award at the 1970 Country Music Association Awards. So he was already well on his way. Speaking of well on his way, another song from the Bristol sessions, not by either Jimmy Rogers or the Carter family, was recorded by Alfred G. Carnes. Carnes was a Methodist minister as well as a singer, and this was an extremely old song. It's from the 19th century, in fact. The words are by Samuel Stennett. The music is by a composer known to posterity only as Miss Durham, first name lost in the clouds of history. After Carnes recorded it, it's been covered by many, many people, including Johnny Cash and the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. My favorite version, though, is Carnes's version. On Jordan's stormy banks I stand and cast a wishful eye on Canaan's fair and happy land, where my possessions lie. I'm bound for the promised land. I'm bound for the promised land. Oh, who will come and go with me? I'm bound for the promised land. For all the winded plain shines from eternal day, where God the sun forever reigns and scatters night away. I'm bound for the promised land. I'm bound for the promised land. Oh, who will come and go with me? I'm bound for the promised land. No chilling wind and no poisonous breath can reach that healthful shore. Sickness and sorrow, pain and death are felt and feared no more. I'm bound for the promised land. I'm bound for the promised land. Oh, who will come and go with me? I'm bound for the promised land. When shall I reach that heavenly place and be forever blessed? When shall I see my Father's face and in his bosom rest? I'm bound for the promised land. I'm bound for the promised land. Oh, who will come and go with me? I'm bound for the promised land. promised land. Filled with delight, my raptured soul would here no longer stay. Though Jordan's waves about me roll, fearless I'd launch away. I'm bound for the promised land. I'm bound for the promised land. Oh, who will come and go with me? I'm bound for the promised land. Now for G. Carnes. His version is much better than mine because he's got a much better voice than I do. You can find it on YouTube. Check it out. I spent most of the early part of the last decade trying in vain to see Merle Haggard in concert. We had tickets in Schenectady, but on our way up we got a flat tire and I had to miss it. We had tickets in Red Bank, New Jersey, but there was a tremendous torrential downpour that night, and the taxi that took us from the railroad station to the theater found that the bridge leading to it had been washed out, and he was unable to figure out another way to get there, so we didn't see it then either. Then we got tickets to see him at Westbury Music Fair in 2015, and wonder of wonders, we actually did. It was a great show, and I was glad to see it. He died only a few months later, so probably that was the last chance we were going to get. This is one of his many great songs. It was from 1968, and it was co-written with his second wife, Bonnie Owens. Today I started loving you again, and I'm right back where I've really always been. I got over you just long enough to let my heartache mend, and then today I started loving you again. What a fool I was to think I could get by on only these few million tears I've cried. I might have known the worst was yet to come, and that crying time for me had just begun. So yeah, today I started loving you again, and I'm right back where I've really always been. I got over you just long enough to let my heartache mend, and then today I started loving you again. Well, at this point in the show, I usually ask for a few audience requests. So if anyone has something they'd like to hear, raise your hand. That's not going to work, is it? All right, then. We will resort to the law of averages. We'll do a few of the songs that I get the most requests for, starting with the one for which I got actually my first request ever, and which remains the one that I'm asked for the most often. It is another Chris Christopherson song, and like all of his great songs, like Me and Bobby McGee, like Help Me Make It Through the Night, like Jody and the Kid, it's about loneliness. Here's a trivia question for you, though. Who was the artist who first recorded this song? It was not Christopherson. Think about that while I sing. Well, I woke up Sunday morning with no way to hold my head. It didn't hurt. And the beer I had for breakfast wasn't bad, so I had one more for dessert. Then I fumbled through my closet for my clothes and found my cleanest dirty shirt. And I shaved my face and combed my hair and stumbled down the stair to meet the day. I I'd smoked my mind the night before on cigarettes and songs that I was picking. But I lit my first and watched a small kid cussing at a can that he was kicking. Then I crossed the empty street and caught the Sunday smell of someone frying chicken. And it took me back to something that I lost somehow, somewhere along the way. On a Sunday morning sidewalk, wishing, Lord, that I was stoned. 'Cause there's something in a Sunday that makes a body feel alone. And there's nothing short of dying half as lonesome as the sound of a sleeping city sidewalk and Sunday morning coming down. In the park I saw a daddy with a laughing little girl that he was swinging. And I stopped beside a Sunday school and listened to the song that they were singing. Then I headed back for home, and somewhere far away a lonely bell was ringing. And it echoed through the canyons like the disappearing dreams of yesterday. On a Sunday morning sidewalk, wishing, Lord, that I was stoned. 'Cause there's something in a Sunday that makes a body feel alone. And there's nothing short of dying half as lonesome as the sound of a sleeping city sidewalk and Sunday morning coming down. My lovely wife is a vegetarian, and the first time I played that song for her, she said, "Oh, that's such a sad song." And I said, "Yeah, it is." She said, "That poor chicken." Anyway, answer to the trivia question. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, that Sunday Morning Coming Down was originally recorded by Johnny Cash. Sorry, thanks for playing, but no. Actually, Cash was the second recording. The first recording was by Ray Stevens. The song that I get the second most number of requests for is a 1973 song written and recorded by Dolly Parton. It's most well known today from a performance by Whitney Houston in the 1993 movie The Bodyguard. However, I have a little trivia question on this one as well. I'm sure everybody knows the song that I'm referring to. It's kind of a superstition for me that I don't mention the titles of songs before I do them, but you know what I'm talking about. However, the performance by Whitney Houston, who's playing singer Rachel Marin, late in the movie is not the first time that the song is heard. She discovers the song because it's playing in a country bar, a honky-tonk, where she dances with Kevin Costner's character, Frank Farmer, the titular bodyguard. And they're playing a recording, and she hasn't listened to a lot of country music. And she says to him, "This is one of those somebody's always leaving somebody songs, isn't it?" Which I think is as good a summation of country music in a single phrase as you could possibly get. But she hears that recording, which is sung by a guy, and that inspires her to record the song herself later on. My question, obviously, is who is the guy who's performing the song that's on the jukebox in the bar where she first hears it early in The Bodyguard? Maybe it will help you to hear what the song sounds like sung by a man. If I stay, I will only be in your way. So I'll go, but I know I'll think of you each step of the way. And I will always love you. Will always love you. Bitter what you need, but I will always love you, will always love you. I hope that life will treat you kind, that you'll have all you ever dreamed of. I wish you joy and happiness, but above all, I wish you love, and I will always love you, will always love you. All right, who's the singer? Yeah, probably nobody out there has got that. I have no idea how many of you there are, but I bet you're not getting that one. That would be the country punk folk rock singer John Doe, D-O-E. Really, you could look it up. Anyway, for my final request, I'd like to do one that I've never been asked for in performance, except by myself, because it's one of my favorite songs. It is by the country singer who is probably my favorite of them all. Not the one that I think is the greatest. That's Hank Williams, of course. Everybody knows that. But I refer rather to Ernest Tubb, the Texas troubadour, born in 1914 in Crisp, Texas. That's him here, also over here. This song is from 1966. It was written by Arlie Duff. No regrets, no hard feelings, it's over. All the good times together are through. I'll have a lifetime of memories to keep me going. I wouldn't take back one moment spent with you. I won't say that your leaving doesn't hurt me, but it's nothing that time can't erase. And someday this hurting will be over. Another story, another time, another place. And one day I'll be sitting with another, and suddenly a smile will cross my face. If she says, what's so funny, well, I'll tell her. Another story, another time, another place. So no regrets, no hard feelings, it's over. It hurts me 'cause I lost out in the race. But someday this hurting's gonna leave me. Another story, another time, another place. And one day I'll be sitting with another, and suddenly a smile will cross my face. If she asks what's so funny, well, I'll tell her. Another story, another time, another place. Isn't that a beautiful song? There's a great recording of it by Leon Redbone, but you should listen to the Ernest Tubb one. It's the all-time best. Well, playing country on a piano is not an easy task. Most country songs, in fact almost all of them, are written by guitar players who write with that instrument in mind. And there are certain things that you can do on a guitar that you simply can't do on a piano. There's no getting around it. However, there have been some great country piano players through the years. Moon Mullican, Owen Bradley, Jerry Lee Lewis, Floyd Kramer. Mullican is probably the greatest of them all, though, and he even wrote some songs. He co-wrote this one with Hank Williams, and unsurprisingly, probably, it is one of the rare Williams songs that's pretty easy to play on the piano. I'm sorry, that would never work. Let's try it again. By Jove, me gotta go, me oh my oh. Gotta pull my pirogue down the bayou. My Yvonne, the sweetest one, me oh my oh. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Jambalaya, crawfish pie, filet gumbo. 'Cause tonight I'm gonna see my share of meal. Pick guitar, fill fruit jar, and be gay. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Thibodeau's, Fontenot's, the place is buzzing. Kinfolk come to see Yvonne by the dozen. Dressed in style, go hog wild, me oh my oh. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Jambalaya, crawfish pie, filet gumbo. 'Cause tonight I'm gonna see my share of meal. Pick guitar, fill fruit jar, and be gay. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Jambalaya, crawfish pie, filet gumbo. 'Cause tonight I'm gonna see my share of meal. Pick guitar, fill fruit jar, and be gay. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Settle down, far from town, give me a pirogue, and I'll catch all the fish in the bayou. Spend my mon on my hon, me oh my oh. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Jambalaya, crawfish pie, filet gumbo. 'Cause tonight I'm gonna see my share of meal. Pick guitar, fill fruit jar, and be gay. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Mulligan was born in Polk County, Texas in 1909, but as you might suspect from that song, he lived most of his life in Louisiana. Among other things, he could talk Cajun a lot better than Hank Williams could. I encourage you to look up Mulligan's own recording of the song on YouTube. It's really a terrific recording. And now we are getting towards the end of the show, by which, of course, I mean the beginning of the encores. I couldn't end without doing this one, though. This is another Christofferson song. It's from 1973. It's the biggest hit that he personally has ever had. It's been recorded by dozens of other artists. The last time I was at the Grand Ole Opry, I heard CeCe Winans do an absolute bell-ringing version of it. She just tore the house down. I can't do it as well as she could, but then she's not here and I am, so here it is. Why me, Lord? What have I ever done to deserve even one of the pleasures I've known? Tell me, Lord, what did I ever do that was worth loving you, or the kindness you've shown? Lord, help me, Jesus, I've wasted it, so help me, Jesus, I know what I am. Now that I know how I've needed you, so help me, Jesus, my soul's in your hand. Try me, Lord, if you think there's a way I could ever repay all I've taken from you. Maybe, Lord, I could show someone else what I've been through myself on my way back to you. Lord, help me, Jesus, I've wasted it, so help me, Jesus, I know what I am. Now that I know how I've needed you, so help me, Jesus, my soul's in your hand. Jesus, my soul's in your hand. Christofferson uses that as the finale of his shows. I've seen him twice, and he's done that as his last number both times. And it's a terrific finale, but I don't know but what in the current situation we could do with something a little more upbeat. So for our last official song, This is by John D. Loudermilk Jr. from 1962. And you may say, Loudermilk, that's a pretty silly name for a country star. Well, that was what his cousins, Ira Loudermilk and Charlie Loudermilk, thought. They changed their name to Ira Louvin and Charlie Louvin, and as the Louvin brothers went on to much greater success than Loudermilk ever had. So maybe they were right. Either way, though, Loudermilk was one heck of a songwriter, and this is from 1962. It's been performed by dozens of people. Now, who's that sneaking down the fire escape? And who's that peeking through the garden gate? Who's on the loose but he can't be found? Big Daddy's Alabama bound. Big Daddy's Alabama bound. Big Daddy's Alabama bound. The police are searching but he can't be found. Big Daddy's Alabama bound. The Highway Patrol and the FBI, they're all out looking for that awful guy. They got the hound dogs out a sniffing around, but Daddy's Alabama bound. Big Daddy's Alabama bound. Big Daddy's Alabama bound. The police are searching but he can't be found. Big Daddy's Alabama bound. Somebody run off with the mayor's wife. Somebody tried to take the police chief's life. Somebody stole the judge's ragged old gown. Big Daddy's on his way out of town. Big Daddy's Alabama bound. Big Daddy's Alabama bound. The police are searching but he can't be found. Big Daddy's Alabama. I didn't say Miami. Big Daddy's Alabama bound. Well, at this point, normally I would listen to the audience and gauge whether it would be appropriate to do a few encores. Since that's not actually going to work, I'm going to have to go with my instinct and say, yeah, I'll do a few more. Why not? Where do we have to go anyway? I usually do as my encores some original songs, some of my own songs, and I see no reason to diverge from that today. This is one that I wrote last year. My mama used to caution me to look before you leap. It's smart, she said, to always keep one eye open when you sleep. She said, don't count your chickens till you've got them safe in hand. And never burn your bridges, you might need a place to stand. But bridges are for burning, they're not to run away. To look before you're leaping takes all the fun away. Chickens are for counting, don't you always want to know? And bridges are for burning, they make such a lovely glow. I do a lot of crazy things with not much chance to pay. My dad would say I'm doing that with every gig I play. I plan to do it all my life until it's time to go. 'Cause after all, until you try, you never really know. And bridges are for burning, they're not to run away. To look before you're leaping takes all the fun away. Chickens are for counting, don't you always want to know? And bridges are for burning, they make such a lovely glow. I know there's lots of people cross their T's and dot their I's, and never mess with anything until they're sure it's wise. It's a way of living, one I'll probably never try. You live that way, you may not even notice when you die. And bridges are for burning, they're not to run away. To look before you're leaping takes all the fun away. Chickens are for counting, don't you always want to know? And bridges are for burning, they make such a lovely glow. Bridges are for burning, they make such a lovely glow. This next one is a brand new one. I wrote it only a few days ago. I performed this during the sound check for this show yesterday, so a handful of you have probably already heard it, but Why not? It will come as no surprise that this is a recently written song. It's a gray day in Lockdown City. There's nothing much to do. It's a gray day in Lockdown City, but me, I'm sitting pretty, 'cause I'm locked down here with you. Seems like it's always raining, the sky is never blue. Bad times are always gaining, but me, I'm not complaining, 'cause I'm locked down here with you. Looking forward to when we can all go out. I'm sure we'll all want to sing and shout, but this much I can say with no doubt. If they sent an entire committee searching all over Lockdown City, the best thing they could do is put me in here with you. So it's a gray day in Lockdown City. Don't know when we'll all go free, but with you and me under lock and key, the weather in Lockdown City is looking just fine to me. That one, of course, is for my lockdown roommate and wife, Sarah Holiday. The first country song I ever wrote, I wrote on July 17th, 2015. I was on I-40 driving from Knoxville to Nashville. In fact, I started, the song just popped into my head. I had no intention of ever writing a country song. It popped into my head as I was just about to get onto the highway heading for Nashville. Between Knoxville and Nashville, I worked on it and I put the finishing touches on it as I was on the exit ramp off into Nashville. I do this song a lot at libraries, and it's appropriate to do so. I do it most places I go, though, because it's my favorite of my own songs, partly because it was the first, but mainly because it's about my mother. She grew up in the backwoods way up north Atlanta, Michigan, with nothing much but pines for miles around. And their car was just a repo, and their house was just a depot on a railroad line no longer came to town. But Mary hardly noticed she was safe between the covers of the books that Mother made sure that she had. Off with Dorothy and Alice, her bedroom was like a palace, and in there she found life wasn't half so bad. Her mama loved the movies and her daddy loved the ladies, and he loved the bottle more than either one. So Mama food for 3 kids in the larder, and she sometimes sat and wept when day was done. But Mary hardly noticed she was safe between the covers of the books that Mother made sure that she had. Spending hours alone and lost in worlds of Dickens and Jane Austen, in there she found life wasn't half so bad. There's no photo of young Mary with no book and with no glasses. With no book her hand just felt a little light. And when they asked her, what do you, when you're all grown up, want to do, they weren't surprised to hear that she would write. For Mary must have noticed she was safe between the covers of the books that Mother made sure that she had. Spending hours and hours of every day with Bronte and with Hemingway, and there she found life wasn't half so bad. Mary came to the big city, to an island called Manhattan, with nothing much but concrete miles around. And she made a life there for herself, with piles of books on every shelf. Jane Austen had come with her into town. Yeah, even in the city she was safe between the covers of the books that Mother made sure that she had. With Shakespeare and with Tennyson, with Williams and with Dickinson, and there she found life wasn't half so bad. Mary lived to almost 80, and her novel never got written, and the life she led was sometimes way too tight. But she had 2 girls, she had 2 boys. She shared with them her greatest joys. For years she read to them most every night. And their mama loved the movies, and their daddy loved their mama, and they both loved books much more than either one. And the kids had troubles to get through, as children nearly always do, but they knew what to expect when day was done. For they all of them had noticed they were safe between the covers of the books that Mom made sure they always had. Even if their hearts were bleeding when they sat down and got reading, in there they found life wasn't half so bad. In Mary's world, life wasn't half so bad. Well, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. There's a lot of other things you could be doing with your time, I expect, and maybe this seems a little silly way to be spending your time with so much that's going on. Personally, I don't know whether there's 10 of you or 10,000 of you, but I really am grateful for you choosing to spend some time with me. Treat yourselves well, will you? And don't forget about the libraries. That's really important. I do have one more song for you. I wrote it a couple of years ago. It is about a friend of mine. He's had some hard things happen to him, but he is, at bottom, maybe the biggest optimist I know. The planet's getting hotter, the seas are turning brown, unemployment's going up, all the jobs are leaving town. In the apartment down below, they're fighting every night. But Stanley's in his garden, everything will be alright. Yeah, Stanley's in his garden, he's picked himself some greens. He's growing some tomatoes, and he's got a patch of beans. The morning dew is on the grass, the sun is shining bright. Stanley's in his garden, everything will be alright. The politicians hate each other more than they hate sin. They see so many problems, they don't know where to begin. All they still know how to do is stand their ground and fight. But Stanley's in his garden, everything will be alright. Yeah, Stanley's in his garden, he's picked himself some greens. He's growing some tomatoes, and he's got a patch of beans. A butterfly just fluttered by, it's such a lovely sight. Stanley's in his garden, everything will be alright. Yes, Stanley's got it all worked out, he's mapped it out to scale. These 3 square feet for strawberries, that's 6 square feet for kale. What he doesn't do this morning, he will get to by tonight. Stanley's in his garden, things are gonna be alright. The rich are getting richer, and the poor are getting screwed. There's poison in our water, and there's garbage in our food. The white man shoots the black man, so the black man shoots the white. But Stanley's in his garden, everything will be alright. Yes, Stanley's in his garden, he's picked himself some greens. He's growing some tomatoes, and he's got a patch of beans. It's not too hot, it's not too cold, the chance of rain is slight. Stanley's in his garden, everything will be alright. Yes, Stanley's in his garden, everything will be alright. See you around, folks. Stay safe.